to another episode of What the Truck. It is a fantastic Friday here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Friday, November 21st, to be exact. I'm your host, Malcolm Harris. It is so good to see each and every single one of you guys. We have such an awesome show today. I know you guys are wondering, I'm in my suit and tie today. Well, I got some official Alpha business. So shout out to the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Didn't want to go home and change, so I figured I'd bring the business with me today. And speaking of business, let's get down to business because on deck, we have a lovely show ahead, and you guys are going to absolutely enjoy this one. Carlos Barbosa, the VP of E-commerce Solutions at ePost Global, is going to be joining the show. We're breaking down a lot, cross-border stuff, as well as delivery expectations headed into peak season. You guys are going to love this one. And then Cellar is also going to be joining the show as well. He is with Ploger Transportation, taking us through the day-to-day in terms of running modern fleets, service challenges, efficiency, all that. And then last, I'm not going to leave out my man, Ben Marks. He is joining me from Optimal Dynamics. He's going to be bringing insight when it comes to AI, actually planning, just everything in terms of operational decisions and how carriers and brokers are leveraging automation in day to day. So when I tell you guys we have a jam-packed show, we absolutely have a jam-packed show, and it would not be possible without our sponsors of the month and of the show, PCS. All right. And again, today's show is brought to you by PCS because, again, in this freight market, margins are everything. PCS TMS with Cortex AI helps carriers capture the right loads, cut wasted miles, and find profit points on every run because profit, not volume, is the new payload. See how at PCSsoft.com. All right, guys. Now, let's get into headlines because it's been quite the week and I have to bring you up to speed. I would not be doing my job if I didn't. So, let's first talk about this issue when it comes to bonds. All right, so bond enforcement is happening right now, and I want to give a special shout out to my man JP. I'm actually previewing this article from JP in the newsletter that's going to be dropping today. So you guys are going to get a lot of insight out of this one. But essentially, what's happening starting on January 16th, the FMCSA is putting real weight behind the broker bond, right? So if your bond or trust dips below the minimum amount of 75K, you have 7 days to bring it back or you have risk of suspension. So to me, being able to just get ahead of this is something that needs to be happening at a leadership level. So that is what I would focus on. That in terms of leadership, in terms of just being in an organization is a huge issue. So shout out to JP. I kind of touched on it because I'm not going to spoil the magic that my man brought in his article. So y'all check that out on freightwaves.com if you haven't, or the newsletter as well coming out. I give my full preview on JP's article as well. Next up, I want you guys to check out this article because, as you guys know, there has been a quote unquote shortage. Well, this is threatening farm labor. So we saw this in this article from John that dropped this week also that I'd love for you to check out because it kind of goes into the lingering effect of what's currently happening in the space when it comes to drivers. So looking at this, of course, that there's a crackdown. I mean, we all know that it's happening, but also it's like, all right, what are the effects on this in different spaces and different verticals? And you're seeing this right now when it comes to farm labor. So definitely, I thought this was an awesome read. Check it out right now as well on freightwaves.com. Now, let's shift pace and shift gear because we're going to take it from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Charlotte, North Carolina. Maersk is officially relocating to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I saw this. This is a pretty substantial deal, guys. I mean, they've held obviously offices in New Jersey for many, many, many years, and now finally they're making the move. According to them, this is going to be a major investment, and it's expecting to bring 500 new jobs in tech, strategy, and commercial operations. So big things happening in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Maersk. I mean, they've been a leader in the space for a long time. I mean, it's not a secret who they are and what they do, but also kind of taking this risk right now in this market where things are not as I want to say loose is really a testament of their operations and what they've been able to do. So shout out to them and congrats on the new headquarters. Next, let's jump into Malcolm Land a little bit because I want to talk about this one in terms of marketing, right? And specifically from a 3PL. There was a recent study that I saw, and that was on this article that I think you guys will get a kick out of because it says for every dollar spent, there should be $27 in the pipeline. So, saw this from Todd this week. I absolutely thought this was really fascinating. I read through it and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Because where I think, guys, that there's a missing of the mark specifically is when it comes to marketing in the 3PL space. I think a lot of us are either stuck in 1997 and we're thinking sales, 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 or it's almost too much of an emphasis and you kind of miss out on what it all means and why we do what we do in the 3PL space. So, definitely, specifically marketing professionals in the 3PL space, this was a really incredible read. I would highly encourage you to check out this article from Todd. And then, last but not least, I also highlighted this article in the newsletter that's going to be dropping this afternoon, talking about cargo theft. I recently spoke with my colleague, our head of content here, Kaylee Nix. She and me just always chop it up and have a good time. But I was just telling her, I've been obsessed with cargo theft lately. And I think you should be too, because you guys see this number. I mean, it's not a secret. This is an industry inside of an industry. I'll talk about this again. I don't want to give up too much in what I did and said on the actual newsletter aspect, but I do want to let you guys know that this, I mean, the numbers they don't lie, and I think Danny Ramon. I recently had him on the show from Overhaul. He is a featured when it comes to this piece, and I think he breaks it down in the episode pretty well. So definitely check that out, and then also be sure to check out the newsletter as well, where I kind of go and really dive into the data and the points. Gentlemen, thank you so much in the back for being on it when it comes to headlines. And now we're going to transition and get to the business because I'm joined again by the VP of e-commerce solutions at ePost Global. And this guy is awesome. Super excited to chat it up with him today. Carlos Barbosa. Carlos, how are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Malcolm. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you? Happy Friday.
Likewise, likewise. You're looking very sharp. I like
Hey, I appreciate it, man. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to speak with you. You look great yourself, and I'm excited. And I want to preface this because I've done a lot of digging. I've done a lot of back end work, and ePost Global just dropped a report, and essentially 20 million shipments were analyzed, and the findings were eye opening. And I have a couple of numbers. It turns out companies that are using multi carrier strategies are performing 37% better than those sticking with just one provider. So I want you to set the scene for me because, challenges that some have had, right? What has sparked the idea to take such a data analysis when you talk about 20 million parcels? I mean, what are you hoping to accomplish and uncover with you and your team when it comes to this specifically?
yeah, that's a great question, Malcolm. So let me start, like in case your viewers don't know who ePost Global is. So we're the probably the largest independently owned international e-commerce logistics provider in the U.S. So we service a lot of brands and marketplaces shipping internationally. Now, those 20 million parcels that you're talking about is 20 million parcels that we have moved ourselves. So it's based on our own data, uh, everything that we have shipped, and we were like curious to see around, like, yeah, what can we pull out of this data? What can we pull out of the experience moving 20 million parcels around the world? Trying to challenge a bit the concept, or the main purpose was, let's challenge the concept about having or relying on one carrier to a country or a specific lane against having different options to ship to that lane. And it was breaking that a bit of the concept that having one vendor into one lane, or maybe one vendor for different countries, that's the best option. And pretty much that's what we concluded, that yeah, you need to have different options to ship to different countries. Otherwise, there's a lot of risk into your supply chain.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, when it comes to the 37% performance edge from multiple carrier networks, right? It really jumps off the
Yeah.
page, but can you unpack what that actually means in practice? Are we talking about faster deliveries? Are we talking about fewer disruptions? I mean, is it an overall better margin thing? All of the above? What does this look like specifically, Carlos?
Well, it's a combination of speed. Like, so that 37% is a combination of speed, is a combination of reliability, meaning, yeah, you have a stable network delivering your parcels. Uh, it means fewer disruptions through tough seasons or volume growth seasons like peak. Uh, so it's a little bit of everything combined in that number. Now, that number is specific to one lane or to one market, but it reflects, or we can kind of reflect that in other lanes or markets. But it is about all of the above. It does gives you a lot in terms of cost as well, like of cost improvement, because yeah, like having one vendor by itself or relying on just one carrier, just there's too many risks also on the, let's say, around the peak season and going into peak season. You're gonna see peak surcharges. You're gonna have uh, well, surges in volume that can jam the network. So it's speed, it's reliability, it's cost. So I would say it's all of the above.
Carlos, now you said and saw in the report there was areas, France as well as Germany specifically, that saw double-digit improvements. But were there any regions specifically that you were just like, this is kind of shocking?
Well, it's again mature markets. That's like there's some of these mature markets that you expect, no, they're going to perform fine. Like, but having a multi-carrier solution into them, yeah, has proven that it can still give us an edge or provide like faster service. Uh, Germany showed up 24% improvement, let's say, when we're looking at different carriers or multi-carrier strategy. Uh, so even countries with strong infrastructures, a multi-carrier approach is going to show or pay the benefit to the shipper. That to me was a bit surprising. We also saw it in countries like the UK and Canada, like having a multi-carrier approach. Yeah, just blew us off in terms of how much better the delivery performance is for our customers.
Carlos, let's talk cost as well as control because cost stability is obviously something that is at the top of mind of everybody, right? We all know the current days and times that we're in, and a lot of shippers they focus on transit time, but you guys found hidden fees, surcharges, different things that didn't make sense in terms of line items that just felt off, right? How does a multi-carrier model actually protect retailers from this? I mean, wouldn't it not kind of extenuate it and make it worse? Or I mean, what have you seen, man? Kind of break it down for us.
Well, here's the thing. One of the things that accessing somebody that has a multi-carrier network,
Yeah.
what it gives you is leverage. Leverage in what sense? Yeah, you might have loyalty to one vendor, which is great if that's what you want to do, but then you're exposed to this vendor. Like, yeah, they're going to keep increasing your rates. We know it. Like right now, you're going to see it. Like some of the major players are pushing out peak surcharges. If you're not open or have different options, then yeah, you're subject to those peak surcharges. Yeah, you want to keep the leverage in terms of the cost. Uh, there's some vendors now, multi-carrier network. There's some vendors that are going to be more effective, let's say, into certain places in a country or to certain regions. If you're tied up to one vendor, you're losing out on that. There's other vendors that or other carriers that are very effective and efficient on smaller packages. Others are better or more efficient on larger packages. Well, you want to have access to both of them, and yeah, play the access the best network for your specific need. There's something else that I would throw out here. Like there's some of these vendors where, in terms of cost certainty and cost control, where you get an invoice or you ship out a package, you get your invoice, and oh, here are your shipping charges, and then a week later you get but there was this extra fee for XYZ thing and then 2 weeks later you're still getting charges on the same parcel. If you're tied up to one of those networks, well, your cost control and predictability just goes out the window. Once you have somebody like ePost managing this multi-carrier network for you, you have cost certainty. Yeah, you're going to get an invoice. We're going to invoice you what that package, what it costs to deliver that parcel, and that's it. You're not going to hear from us anymore. So that's kind of a big advantage of getting into multi carriers and not just being tied to one vendor.
For decades, it seemed that retailers have prided themselves on just kind of having that exclusive carrier relationship, and I get it. I've been on that side, and I've seen kind of having that discussion. But specifically when it comes to volume discounts, loyalty programs, you name it, I mean, it's been there. But now it starts to seem that loyalty is kind of backfiring. People are open, right? What has changed in the last few years to kind of switch this dynamic that people are now more open to different relationships?
Well, it's what you notice, and I've experienced this myself as well in previous lives. So you tie up with a vendor, you're loyal to them, they have all these programs, and it was fine. And then all of a sudden they start hitting you, oh, here, but here's your peak surcharge. And now, oh, no, here's a bit of an increase into this lane, and things just keep moving on, and you end up without leverage with those specific vendors. Now, um, loyalty gets you to certain place, but then you're missing out on all the new players that are coming out in the market. You might be tied to somebody that there's a labor dispute, and this is a great example. What we went through last year with the Canada Post strike in Canada, like if anybody that was tied or just using Canada Post as a final mile carrier ended up with the post office is on strike and you're in peak. Well, we had a network that had different carriers, and we could manage and help our customers deliver those parcels through that strike. So there's labor disruptions. There's uh, weather impacts. There's network issues across like the supply chain. So you want to have options to all of these. Um, I think that one of the other things is, yeah, like retailers and shippers, they just want to have reliable partners. And once you have like a network that encompasses a bunch of different ways of delivering your parcels, that's what we're able to provide.
Carlos, managing multiple carrier relationships can be daunting. I mean, it really can be exhausting. But now I think technology has been able to kind of play more of a prevalent role in this. How has automation and AI made life easier to be able to, I would just say, manage the relationships between all these different vendors and partners?
Well, that's a great question, and there's been a lot of investment in our company on the IT front and on the technology front. It's a lot of data that we have to sift through, but it's having that technology or that backbone is what allows us then to manage this multi-carrier network. Well, how? Like, yeah, for each parcel, we know exactly what's going on with it. We know where it is in our supply chain. For each parcel or for a country, we know how different vendors are performing. We can drill it down to a postcode, for example. We're bringing AI predictability models into the, like, use this data. If there's a vendor that's failing into a specific area or a specific postcode, well, let's adjust the routing. These are things that if you're trying to do it like just by like someone doing it, it's just too much data to handle. Now, all of this complexity, and part of this, because I know it's a bit of the barrier for some of the retailers. Oh, well, but I don't want to deal with this complexity. Well, that's why there's company like us. We are going to handle that complexity for you. Uh, you have algorithms behind it that choose based on the dimensions, based on the item weight, based even on the commodity. Well, we're going to choose how we're shipping these parcels across the world. So IT and the whole technology infrastructure is what's facilitating or making it a lot easier for companies like us to do this. It's a big component.
Huge component. And there's something, the risk of staying still and talking about that because oftentimes there's gonna be somebody I know that is listening to the show or that's going to listen later for the recap and just be like, you know what, I'm still holding out, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
according to your report, there's no such thing as a safe single carrier. And I thought that was a really, unique point. Walk me through when it comes to, hey, like if you could tell somebody that's still holding out, what would you just essentially let them know? Like, hey, I wouldn't do this because of X.
Well, it's just having all the eggs in one basket. It goes back down to that one. You have all the eggs in one basket, and something can happen anywhere across the chain where you're like, oh, I'm stuck. Now you're going to have to run a fire drill. What do I do with these parcels? And I'm not talking about telling people, yeah, don't use or replace them completely. It's like, yeah, open up to other options. Yeah, you need to have more options in your supply chain. Uh, that way, a good example I brought was the kind of labor dispute last year, where boom, thousands of parcels were just getting stuck in the chain. Well, that's what happens when you just have one carrier. The thing I would say is people that are holding back is, well, there's companies like us that will remove all that complexity. And some people are scared to do this more around complexity than anything else. And well, we have the IT, we have the backbone to support that transition very seamlessly, so it doesn't become a barrier for you. Yeah, we'll make it easy and seamless for you and your customers to make that transition and access a multi-carrier network. Now, the other thing is, yeah, you're subject to whatever they do, and not just on the network, but with the pricing, and that's something that like in the past I used to do that, and yeah, that's a risk you don't want to keep taking.
No, it's definitely not, and I'm really happy you mentioned that. It made me smile because I'm like, you just hit exactly the point that I thought you should have made, and you absolutely did a great job. Now, before I let you go, because I know we have other guests, and I know you have a busy day. Kind of walk me through when it comes to a bold prediction in 2026. What is the percentage that you think when it comes to major retailers that are going to be multi-carrier in the space? What's a percentage, man?
I'll take a strong gamble here. There's got to be over 70%.
Oh,
Because
70%.
I'm gonna go through this. I'll take a gamble. Okay, they'll have access to multi-carrier networks. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that they're gonna do it themselves, but over 70% for sure are gonna have access to multi-carrier networks and will be using those and not relying on a single carrier.
definitely. Carlos, now last thing before I really, really get you out of here, where can we find information about the support as well as for information about ePost Global and all the things you and your team are doing?
Yeah, just go to our website is www.epostglobalshipping.com. Oh, sorry, that went out wrong. But so www.epostglobalshipping.com. That's where you can find all the information.
It's awesome. Mr. Barbosa, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure. And looking forward to have you back on the show in 2026.
Oh, we'll look forward to that as well. And
Yeah,
great
man.
seeing
Thanks
you.
so much. Good to see you. Carlos Barbosa, again, the VP of E-commerce solutions at ePost Global. Super excited to have him here. And we're going to keep the show going because coming up is a great guy that I'm excited to speak with, Zach Cellar, and he is the operations manager. Now, Zach, I need you to get me right. I took a risk and I'm going Ploger transportation. And am I right or wrong?
You are right, Malcolm.
Come
Ploger
on,
Transport.
man. Come
You got it,
on,
bud.
man.
How are
I
you doing?
appreciate it. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's a busy Friday. We're ramping up for the holiday, and glad to join us. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here again, man. I appreciate it. I did some digging, and also, this is going to be on Sirius XM, and I was thinking in the back of my head, I was like, I better not be saying this company wrong, and I was like 95% sure I wasn't. So, Zach, thank you so
Ploger
much for being
Transportation.
here.
I appreciate it, bud.
So let's just get into it, right? Because you have a really cool and unique background. What made your team open to exploring the AI assisted planning and just process in the first place? Because there's a lot of moving pieces that come with this. What made you even want to jump in the first spot?
There's a lot here to this. That's a loaded question. We are
For
a tech
sure.
forward company. We like to stay forward in the tech stack world. The market's been brutal the last 3 years, and the challenges with a small family owned company. We're running 85 trucks, all asset, and a smaller office, and just overcoming the challenges of customer requirements, appointments, driver satisfaction. We are very driver focused, and trying to stay ahead or stay afloat as the market is throwing these challenges. And with the tech out there, Optimal Dynamics has a great product. We met them at one of our TMS user conferences, and they're already integrated with our system. So it just seemed like a perfect match with them to see what we could do to improve our efficiencies internally, to help improve our driver experience as well as our customer experience.
Now, before implementation, when it came to any new tech, talk to me candidly. I mean, what was the biggest thing in terms of the day to day that was just really putting hitches within the day in terms of operations?
Well, those out there in the ops world know manual planning is a grind. You
For
you
sure.
have your notebooks where you're writing drivers' times, hours of service, if they have any events or time off coming up. The Google spreadsheets or spreadsheets to keep track of trucks. It works. we all as planners like to think we're the best, and we do the right things and it works, but it slows things down. It doesn't make it simple. And trying to simplify that using AI and again to increase our efficiencies.
You said that you're a very driver-centered company, and I can tell that in 3 minutes in speaking with you. What were the first things that drivers specifically were just like, "You know what? Like, hey, like, this is making a huge difference."
So we actually didn't roll it out to the drivers right away. We kept it internal just so we can improve the optimal dynamics product with our change management and how we want things to flow. But we do a daily stand up call with our fleet, where we allow drivers to join willingly if they want. And we kind of peel back the curtains and transparency and share what's going on behind the scenes, whether it's operationally or safety or maintenance, and keep that open dialogue with the fleet. After we got a hold of how this optimal dynamics tech works and we started seeing the results and the success with it, we introduced it to the fleet via those calls, and we showed them the how they had been playing the prior few months, and it was shocking to them, like, oh, it wasn't uh Tressie planning me today. It was this engine, and we've seen an increase in miles. We've seen an increase in loads. In fact, our load volume increased by 21.4% using this.
Holy smokes.
And when you increase loads, you're increasing miles, and that's success to the driver, that's success to the company, that's success to our customers. It's an all around win with that.
Let's talk about trust real quick because this has been a constant theme when I speak with companies adopting AI. How hard was it for you and the rest of the team to kind of just like let go and let God
Yes.
here, right? Like how hard was that for you to be able to do that and to trust and that there would be a return on that investment from a tech perspective?
Trusting and let go is very hard. And optimal dynamics, anybody in the AI world will tell you that too. It comes with change management to see it, to trust it. Once we got the process in place internally and saw the results, the outcomes were there. With it freed up the day.
Yeah.
I'm on this meeting right now, and I can go back to my desk and start looking at the engine again and seeing where my trucks are, where our freight is, and being able to just assign and send. Um, Seeing that result over and over, seeing it in the numbers, um, that helps build that trust from the success of the engine of the AI automated decisions.
Is there any looking at driver kind of feedback and experience? Is there anything specifically that they've shared since these upgrades have went live that you could share with us?
I've had a few reach out and share the praises that they see it. I've had a few. They call it an engine. They call it the brain. They say, "We tell the brain I want to go to Florida the next week. We tell the brain I want to go here." Um, Keeping that transparency open with them has helped build that trust with the fleet too, and the feedback has been good. We Since COVID, we implemented specific schedules, Monday to Fridays, Sunday to Thursday, and then we have ones that just work their 70-hour clock. This system has helped. It sees that the driver has a certain schedule, and it won't dispatch them or plan them out past that schedule to help get them back here. Again, another aspect that the human brain knows, but this thing works in real time and helps keep the driver on their schedule and home. And we've gotten that feedback too of um, not going past a Monday to Friday schedule and working into Saturday.
Really? I was unaware of that. So how well, gosh, I'm about to add a question. I'm sorry. You got to cut me off, but how does that work when it comes to that addition?
As far as their schedules,
Yeah.
so we can bake in, so the optimal dynamics tool, which Ben will talk about here too. That optimal dynamics tool is so powerful. There's so many keys that you can add into it, from driver wants, needs. We created schedules in our TMS for each driver, when they have a specific schedule. So
Nice.
this will look at our TMS data, all our loads we have there, and if a driver is Monday to Friday and they're empty in Ohio, and there's a load in our TMS going from Ohio to North Carolina to deliver Saturday, it won't suggest a Monday to Friday driver because it knows there's a penalty on working past their schedule. It helps keep everybody in check.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. And then we do have Ben in the bullpen waiting, and he's gonna be able to deliver here shortly. And I want to just ask you a few more questions because specifically these improvements have they influenced, and I'm sure they have, but kind of want you to get into it when it comes to whether it's retention, recruiting, just conversations, or just even day to day driver satisfaction. What has that kind of delta look like?
I think it's improved overall. Our turnover rates have, the ratio has dropped over the year that we've been implementing this. It's a nice sell tool to say, hey, at the end of the day, there's still a human touch to this. The engine isn't automatically assigning you. Optimal Dynamics isn't automatically assigning to you. It's suggesting it to us, and as us as humans, we are making that final decision and selecting it. But we're able to share the success of what it's done with miles, with load counts per week, home time, all that goodness. And we've shared it with customers too. But that will help retain. It will help recruit and just build a core here with Ploger for continued success.
Let's look ahead briefly at the future. I mean, what's the next big operational tech project Ploger is exploring or currently working on? If you can give us a little tidbit. If not, no harm, no foul.
Nope. So to check ourselves, we're not perfect with Optimal Dynamics yet. We want to keep growing with it. And the
Right.
beautiful part about them is they are great folks to work with, and they're eager to grow their product too. I'll let Ben talk more on that, but what we have now is not the final product. We're going to keep this growing. Can it go into exception management? Can we utilize drivers now tracking behind and broken down or broke down and not making on time? The human is still here to do that management, but if we can grow that with AI or other tools within that tech stack would be great.
Zach Cellar, the transportations and operations rather manager at Ploger Transportation. Any last words, Zach? I really appreciate this insight on this interview, man. This has been awesome.
I appreciate it, Malcolm. I'm glad you had us on here. We want to take this product to the moon. We want to keep growing. And I tell, carriers out here, get ahead now before you're left in the dust, because this is the future. And it's going to help operations all the way around be efficient and productive. It's going to improve your customer service and your driver satisfaction.
Couldn't say it better myself. Zach, thank you so much. And again, like I said to Carlos, looking forward to having you back here on 2026, and we'll definitely pick up the conversation. Don't be a stranger. Come by Chattanooga anytime.
Likewise, man. I got to say, go Browns.
I got you, man. Oh man, I first off, I love Shador, man. That's my guy. All right, so I'm gonna have my watch up this weekend, ready to go. Looking at this next guest, man, Ben, I know you're gonna bring down the house, and I'm gonna give you a great introduction. I mean, Ben, again, is with Optimal Dynamics. He's the senior solutions leader. First off, your LinkedIn is incredible. Second off, I'm super excited to just get some insight from you. So, Ben, with that, welcome to What the Truck. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks, Malcolm. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, appreciate you being here as well. Now, for listeners unfamiliar with Optimal Dynamics, can you explain the software, what it does, and the problems that it's able to solve?
Yeah. So who we are at Optimal Dynamics is we're a decision layer. So we're not replacing anything. We're not a TMS. We're not an ELD. We're not an IoT. None of those stuff. But we do integrate with all of those different tech stacks. And what we're trying to do is take this really, really challenging problem, which is optimizing and predicting in this network of uncertainty and making decisions that are most likely to have a favorable outcome into your network. Right. So we come at this from an automation first approach. We believe automation breeds efficiency, both on the road and in the office. Efficiency creates capacity, right, on the road to do more loads with the same amount of drivers, in the office to do other revenue generating activities with the same amount of headcount. And then how you fill that capacity is true optimization, getting the right loads into your network at the right time for your asset. And so looking at all of those things, the life cycle of the load, that's who we are. That's what we do. And the problem we're trying to solve it is really just that. Like, how do we make the most of markets when they're really bad, like they are right now? How do we maximize markets when they're really good? What do we do to make this easier, more streamlined? How do we maximize the personal impact
Yeah.
of these folks that are in these operations for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Let them do more of what they're good at and let a machine do what it's good at, which is the math.
That's a great way to put that, and to follow up on that, the conversations, right? Whenever you're approaching new fleets and teams, when it comes to AI usage, how open or how skeptical are they? And is there anything specifically that you're seeing that's a reoccurring theme when having these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, Malcolm, like you'd imagine, it's a mixed bag, right? They're like some
Yeah.
people love it, some people hate it, and most people are somewhere in between. I think that the first thing that comes up in the conversation is just being very clear that when we come in, we're not trying to replace experience. What we're trying to do is those people that are valuable to the operation today, pre-Optimal Dynamics, are just as valuable, if not more so, when OD is in their operation. They're just differently valuable, right? And so there's a lot of skepticism around there. They think this tool is going to come in and they're like, oh, you can't do what I do. I've been doing this for 30 years, and you don't know, this driver or that shipper or this lane like I do. And they're right. We don't, right? But what we do know is how to look at the entire network, how to break down some artificial silos, how to do the things that we can do really well to let their experience come to the fore and solve that hard problem or give that white glove experience to a shipper when it's required, or make sure that that driver who's got a wife that's in labor gets home on time, or whatever that is, right? Not trying to be overly dramatic, but it's the skepticism that we can do what they do. So helping them understand that we're not going to do everything that we do. We're going to do the things that we can do, right? So they can do what they can do.
No, great, great, great stuff. Now, across your customer base and beyond, I mean, what are the top operational benefits that fleets are consistently seeing while they're using OD?
I think Zach mentioned it a little bit ago, but the first thing that we see is time, right? As folks start to use this, people that are very close to the tool start to have more time in their day. They're able to have more intentional conversations with drivers. They're able to have more proactive conversations with their customers and with their shippers. They're able to start looking into things that they never really had time for before. It's in my previous life, we used to talk about a dispatcher was like trying to juggle chainsaws while they were on fire while you're on a unicycle, right? And so we're still juggling chainsaws to a degree, but we're not on a unicycle and they're not on fire anymore, right? So we're letting them try to work through that and have more time. And then from a KPI standpoint, the first thing that we sort of see is a rate per total mile increase.
Okay.
Whether that's from getting better freight from their non-asset division into their asset, whether that's proactively using our source tool to book better third-party loads, whether that's just pulling empty decisions forward by a day, right? And trying to put in about a half a turn a week per truck by just moving some decisions forward and having some decisions made at the end of day one instead of the beginning of day two, for example.
Nice. Now, and I appreciate you kind of mentioning that because there was going to be a follow up to that question. Because is there any other early success that happens whenever a fleet does adopt OD, and kind of speak to what that looks like in terms of other metrics? I mean, you spoke on kind of the lead KPI, but anything else in terms of early success that's been seen?
Yeah, another one that we see very often is the ability to reallocate headcount.
Okay.
So very quickly, we've seen customers be able to reduce planning specific headcount by 80%, right? So one person can now plan 200 or 300 trucks. Those other folks, those other 4 or 5, 6 people now become very impactful safety managers, safety leaders. They become customer success folks that know the network and can work with the customers. They become really great inside sales team members that can go out and know the network, so know what they need to do. So that's one of the first benefits they see is just an ability to take these folks that really know the network, understand the business, and put them into direct kind of revenue generation or revenue protection seats, right, as they go through. Another one we see a lot is driver satisfaction, driver impact. Again, Zach talked on it with the schedules a little bit, but if we know through the TMS when a driver needs to be home, whether that's a schedule, whether that's a scheduled home time, whether that's just a special event where they want to go somewhere else in the country, the tool makes decisions and makes recommendations to maximize the value of that truck and your resource while achieving that objective function, right? So in this case, that objective function is that home time. So we make good decisions leading up to get that truck where it needs to be, when it needs to be there for that home time, for example.
Definitely. Now, when it comes specifically to a surprising bit of information that has been shared with you in terms of the usage of OD or just general feedback, I want you to kind of dig deep in this bank right now and think, all right, what is that piece of information if you could share it with us?
Yeah. So dispatchers are very creative people, right? Like
Oh,
they have to
yeah.
solve problems all day, every day. And so I think what's the most surprising to me is we go through and we spend an enormous amount of time internally building solutions, crafting workflows, testing, developing, working, and then we release these out to our beta group, and then we kind of have a larger reviews to everybody else who's on the platform. And then without fail, somebody finds a different way to use a part of the tool that we never imagined. Right? I mentioned Source briefly earlier. We had one of our customers. I think there's a webinar out there in the internet if you're interested, or if the viewers are interested, go look at it. But we had Source, and one of our customers used that to not just fill an immediate need from a backhaul, but they went to some of their customers that they'd been kind of knocking on doors for years and never been able to get their foot in the door, and said, hey, we get it. We don't have any contract business with you, but if you let us have access to your overflow freight, we've got a tech solution that'll help us service it the best way possible. Let us prove to you that we're a value add carrier to your portfolio. And then went through that way. Another is we have our own version of a large language model named Atlas. And we see folks, part of Atlas answers a question of why do we think a driver is going to be where they are when we think they are. So we break down their hours of service. And we've seen customers take that and then have safety-based hours of service conversations with their drivers saying, oh, you can do this. Here's a way to maximize your hours, and then you can make some more money. And this is what it might look like. And to go through some of that. So I'm always surprised when we release things and they get out in the wild to see the creativity of our customers and our users, like apply it to a different problem and help it solve a different set of things than we initially intended for. It's always very cool to see.
That is definitely cool to see. And something else cool to see is the evolution of what happens here. And let's kind of shift gears and talk about the future because the next 3 to 5 years, right? What do you see in terms of the opportunities, specifically in AI, when it comes to our space on a day to day level and beyond?
Yeah, I think the first is education, right?
Yeah.
For so many years, AI has been this magic bullet, and it's kind of been this black box, and it's like either going to fix everything or it's going to ruin everything, and there hasn't been a ton of time in between. So I think the first thing that we're going to see, and I think all of us in this space have a duty, is to educate people about what AI is, and almost more importantly, what it's not. And then as it goes through, I think it's just what I mentioned on earlier is finding ways to have these industry professionals become even more impactful than they already are, right? So whether that's freeing up time in the dispatch planning like we do, or the load allocation process and the things that Optimal Dynamics solves, but maybe it's back office processing. I know there's some really cool tools out there about bill of ladings and things like that, and auto bidding and all of those different things. Is really anything that we can do, and our biggest opportunities are to take these folks that are born and raised in the trucking and logistics industry and find ways to maximize their impact. And I think that's the biggest opportunity for AA to come through. So any folks that are out there looking for a tool, keep that in mind. How can you use this tool to maximize your folks that are already really good at what they do, and how do you make them excellent?
That is honestly one of the best answers I've heard. I mean, because I literally was about to ask you if there's something that you could leave us with. I mean, and I think that you just kind of hit it on the head. But also, for those evaluating AI for the first time, really and truly making the decision to commit to this, the advice that you just gave I thought was great. But is there anything else specifically that you have for them as well to close out the show?
Yeah, I think a partnership with the provider is very important. Obviously, I'm biased, right? I don't want to go too far, but we have a huge team of support that is academic from Princeton and in the industry and in the solving the problem for operations research and AI and development. But we also have a ton of industry experience folks on our teams who have been vice presidents and directors at top 5 truckload companies that have been in the space for 10, 20 years. I worked at FedEx for 21 years before I came over here to Optimal Dynamics. So evaluating the partner, not just for what their tool can do, but can that partner support the tool, help you through the change management, help you through the design and build, and help you with ongoing success, right? No network is stagnant, no network is static. So as you continue to evolve, your vendor should continue to evolve. And we believe here that the best way to solve this problem is to be part of the team solving the problem. So having touch bases, having conversations, understanding what's going on, what the strategy is, what the future looks like, and making sure that our engine stays in tune with those changes is critical. We don't solve every problem. There are other folks out there that can solve other problems. So that would be my advice: is if you go down this journey, there's a ton of change required. Make sure your vendor partner has the ability to support that change for the entire duration of the relationship.
Ben Marks with Optimal Dynamics. Ben, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. I really appreciate it. I wish I had like another hour because I really could get into this. You're always welcome back on the show anytime.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like
Hey,
I tell my
thanks so
boss,
much.
I get paid by the word. I'm always happy to come by and talk about this stuff. So,
I absolutely will. We'll get you here ASAP, man. Thank you so much.
all right, thanks.
And I also want to thank Carlos as well as Zach for again coming on the show and speaking with me and looking ahead because we have an awesome show planned for you guys Monday. You know, we had Carlos on today. Well, we're going to have a different Carlos coming on the show on Monday. Joining us on the road ahead, Carlos Gullion. He is going to be joining the show. And I had a pre-show with Carlos. He is awesome. He's the president at BG Trucking Incorporated, as well as the CEO and co-founder. So he is awesome, Carlos. And we have some potential news happening and going to make some room for that on Monday as well. Stick around. I hope you guys have the best weekend ever. Go Vols 06 to my good brothers. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Take care. Peace.